In this video, we're going to create a story game in Python. The code will be in the link in the description below. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll jump up to a new file up at the top, and we're going to create two files. So we're going to click this, and then we'll say story.py, so our story, our game file. And then we're going to create another one, and we're going to create engine.py and hit enter. We'll be in engine.py for the first part. So just make sure that it says engine.py up at the top. Our first function that we want to do, so when you create a game like this, if you use a print function, it just prints it and then just goes from there. If you've ever sort of done a project like this, it'll just do that, and then you have 50 different messages, and it's like, wait, where am I supposed to read from? Instead of that, we're going to create a function that prints a message and then it waits for a second. That way the user can kind of read as they go. So let's come in and we'll say def narrate, parentheses after it. The narrate function is going to take in a message, and then we'll go from there. Here we will do a print, whatever the message is. So the message could be, you go into a cave or something like that, whatever. And then the next thing is we're going to wait. Now, to wait, Python comes with a time module that has a sleep function. Sleeping means just tells the computer to take a break for a second. So up at the top, we'll come in and we'll say import time. And then on line 5, let's come in here and we'll say time.sleep. And then we'll go from there. We need a time to put in here. So let's create another variable up at the top, and we'll just kind of keep track of that. So we'll say seconds per message, and then we'll do 1. We'll wait for 1 second, and we'll put seconds per message here. Reason why is because later on you can change this. The next function that I find useful for this is a speak function. So we'll say speaker, and we'll say message. A speak function allows for a user to, or allows for a character to speak. So it would be like Alex and then hi, or Alex, how are you, whichever. We're going to come in here and use our narrate function. So we'll just piggyback off of that, and we'll say, we'll use a format string. So we'll put F in front of here, quotes, and we're going to say speaker, comma space, or colon space, message. And then just get rid of the equal sign. So again, it'll say Alex colon hi, or Alex colon how are you. The next thing that I find is when you do a game like this, you want the user to be able to choose different options. So there's two more functions that I want to kind of walk you through. One is creating a sort of yes or no function, which sort of asks the user yes or no, and then you can respond to that. The other one is allowing the user to choose different options. We're going to go over the yes or no one first. The yes or no one's a little bit simpler, and then the options one gets a little bit more complex, but the options one kind of builds upon the yes. So we'll go from there. It's very possible, so let's create a function called yes, and then we'll use colon and hit enter. It's really possible when you ask yes or no that the user just types something completely different. Because they are allowed to type and they can do whatever, that's great, but that, unfortunately, that may mean if you ask the user yes or no, they might say fish, or they might say, penguin, or whatever. Something completely different than what you were expecting. So we need to pretty much continually ask the user for that. It's also possible the user might do a typo, they might press the wrong key or something, and we just want to make sure that that they've typed the right thing before going on. Oftentimes with user input, you'll find a while loop to do that. So we'll say while true, and then from here we're going to get the actual input from the user. So we'll say input, and we'll say yes or no, question mark, colon, and hit enter, kind of indicate that you can type there. Okay. Another thing that can improve this as well is that we want to get the lowercase version of this. It's possible the user might have caps lock on or something like that, or they might have capitalize the yes or something. So to make it case insensitive, where it doesn't care what it is, we'll just convert what they typed to lowercase. So we'll say choice equals, we can reset it again, choice dot lower. And there we go. So that'll convert whatever the user typed to lowercase. Then from there, we're going to say if choice equals yes. Again, this should be in lowercase because you converted it to lowercase. We'll also check for a y too as well. So we'll say or choice equals y colon and hit enter. By the way, I'm writing this in a way that if you wanted to use this for other kinds of projects, this is a very good, yes or no kind of, function that you can use. Okay, so from there, we'll return true. Otherwise, what we're going to do, we need to check if they said no. So we need to say elif choice equals no, or choice equals n. And we'll return false. You might be wondering, why can't we just do an else here? Right? Like, okay, if they didn't say yes, then why don't we just assume they said no? Well, they could have said something else, like I mentioned earlier. They might have typed, whatever. They might have made a typo or something like that. So we need to check for that. So let's come in here. We'll say else. In this way, we're being exhaustive. We're checking all possible combinations of what they could have typed. And if they typed anything else, what we're going to say is we'll say a print statement, and we'll say please enter yes or no. And that way, and then what it'll do is it'll come right back up to there, and then it'll ask them yes or no. Okay, until they get the right one. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to code options. So the user is going to be able to choose from a bunch of different options. So we're going to ask them, you want to go to the beach or park or the movies, and then they'll be like 1, 2, 3, and they can type in 2 and it'll go to the park. I think it was park was the second one. Anyway, so let's code this. It's going to be very similar to our yes function. Just say choose, and we're going to take in options. So options are going to be like a list of all of our options. Let's come in here and we'll use a while loop just like we did previously so that we can ask the user, while they're going, and make sure that they've typed in the right thing. Then we'll come in here and we'll say print, and we'll say, what would you like to do? Okay. This is where we're going to loop through the options. We'll come in here, we'll say for O in options, colon, and hit enter. Now, one thing about this is that options so you don't exactly know the number that you're on. So one way that we can do this is we can do enumerate, colon, that. And then that allows you to then come in here and say I will be the number that you're on. It actually starts on 0. So let me kind of phrase this here real quick. So what you'll have is you'll have 0 will be the park. You don't have to type what's in the green here, but the hashtags. 1 will be the store, for example, and then 2 will be the beach. So let's spell that correctly. Okay. So you'll have a couple different options that you can do. So what we need to do instead is instead of displaying it like 0, 1, 2 to the user, we need to say 1, 2, 3. So we need to add 1 to each one of them. Okay. Yeah, so computers, they actually start counting from 0 when they list things off like that. It actually does make sense because 0 technically is the first number. I know it sounds weird, but it's if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. So also, when you're working with ones and zeros, like binary, 0, 0, 0, 0, whatever is really the first one. So that's one of the reasons why they did that. Okay. So from here, we'll print. We're going to use a format string because we want to put these variables inside of here. We'll say quotes. I'm just going to put a space, and I'll do I I'll put a dot at the end of there too as well. So it'll come in and it'll print like 1, you know, and then option, 2, option, whatever. One more thing we need to do here, I plus 1 to kind of go. So instead of 0, 1, 2, it'll be 1, 2, 3. Okay. Next, we need to get the choice that the user is going to come in here. So we say input, type a number. And then we need to check if the choice is a digit. So this is important because like the user might type in, we're asking them to type in a number, but they might type in like text or something, either on accident or intentional. We want to make sure that they've typed in the right thing, so we'll check and see if they've typed in a digit. If they have, now we can do the conversion. If you put this where you convert to an integer before the is digit, it's possible that you can actually crash the program if they type in something wrong or whichever, and then you're not playing your game anymore. So the other thing is we need to check if the user has typed in the right number. So there might be 3 options. They might have typed in 50. Yeah, they typed in a number, but it's not one of the options. So let's check for that. If choice greater than 0 and choice less than or equal to the length of options. Length meaning how many options are there. Are there 3 options? Right, then the length will turn into 3. Okay. We're going to return, and then we'll say options, square bracket, whatever the choice is a number, minus 1. Put it back to sort of computer speak. Remember that computers, they count from 0, 1, 2. So 0 is the first thing, 1 is the second thing, 2 is the third thing. So we need to do a minus 1 to sort of compensate for that. Okay. The next thing that we're going to come in here and do is we'll come in and print, please enter a valid number. If none of these are true, like or if any one of these are not true, like if it wasn't a digit or if they typed a number but it wasn't correct, we're not going to hit this code, and we're just going to come in here and say, hey, please enter a valid number, and we'll come right back up here. Okay, so we have all of our engine code done. Now let's move on to our story. So let's come into story.py, and what we can do is we can, so we need to bring in Python code from another file, right? Because this engine.py is in a different file. So all the functions that we wrote, how do we do that? We use an import, and you can do that actually by typing from to make it a little bit easier. So we'll come in and we'll say from engine, the name of the file that you did. You don't have to put .py, import, and then it's the narrate function, we have the speak function, we have the yes function, and we also have the choose function. Okay. Then from there, I'm going to walk you through kind of a basic story. Feel free to take as much creative liberty as you want with this. I hope that you make it your own and such. Let me get you started with it. So we'll come in and we'll say narrate to type our first line of dialogue, and we'll say you look up at and see a UFO. Okay, perfect. And then we'll come in and we'll say narrate, and we'll say it is headed your way. Okay, let me show you what this does. So up at the top right, if you want to press that run Python file, we'll come in and we'll say that, and then we'll do that. Okay. So and I'll do it one more time, but the what it did is it printed the message, and then it waited a second, and then it printed the next message and waited a second. I'll do it one more time. Look up at the UFO, it's headed your way. Okay. Let's get a couple different options from the user. So like, what do they want to do? There's a UFO approaching. So we'll say choice equals, and then we'll say choose, and then we'll come in and we'll say hide, call for help, and yell at the aliens. Okay. We want to see what the user chose. We kind of know that if they get past this function, then they have chose one of these. And the nice thing about this is we can just say choice equals hide. So 2 equal signs, right? We're saying, hey, are these things equal to each other? Then we'll do that. and we'll come in here and we'll type pass. So pass is sort of a placeholder. It basically just says, okay, I'm going to write something here in a second, but just hold on for a second. So cool. Then the next one, let's use elif. Choice equals, make sure to do 2 equal signs, call for help. And then we're going to do another pass. Now, again, elif is the way that you do that in Python. You might be familiar with else if you're coming from another language. You actually can't do that, so you have to use elif. Elif is like, hey, if this wasn't the case, then do this one. Okay, and we're going to do another elif, so if those were not the case, choice equals yell at the aliens. Then we'll come in and we'll do that. We'll say pass. So if we're hiding, then we're going to run some code. If we're calling for help, we're going to run some code. And then if we yell at the aliens, we're going to do some code. Okay, so let's come in here. If we hide, we want to just, maybe we'll just like keep having the user hide, I guess, until they come out. And we'll go from there. So we'll say while true. So I'll just keep going over and over again. And we'll say narrate, and you say you hide from the aliens. Narrate, the UFO gets louder. Okay, and then this is where we can choose another one. So we can say choice equals, and you can reuse the same variable. It doesn't matter for this case. So we can say choose, and we can say get out, or we can say keep hiding. Okay, and this code only runs if they chose the hide function. So we'll come in here, or sorry, the hide, if they chose hide as an option. Choice equals get out. So if choice is get out, then what we're going to do is we'll say narrate, you break out from hiding. Oops, I forgot a colon here. Okay, on line 13 I forgot a colon there. Okay, and then we'll do narrate. Suddenly a beam of light comes your way. Narrate, and we'll say game over. Okay, cool. And then we don't want this to run anymore. We want to break out of the loop. So we're just going to break the loop and everything will just be over. Cool. Okay, elif choice. And I hope you see this is where there's a bunch of these different if statements that you can do. And you can actually build a whole kind of story by doing these and let the user kind of choose different options or whatever, and then the game will change based on what they choose. So it says, okay, if they said keep hiding, just make sure that the spelling of these, like if you say keep hiding, just make sure that they're exact to what you typed here. Okay. So we'll come in here and we'll say narrate, you keep hiding. And then the loop will just go over and over and over again. So we'll just, they just keep hiding until they come out and then it's game over. Okay. Let's do call for help. Let's come in here and don't judge me on I'm not a writer here, but I had to write a little something for this to show you, but you guys are probably more creative than I am. You call for help, suddenly a penguin comes from the trees. Now we can use our speak function, so let's have the penguin speak. Say speak, and we'll say penguin is the subject, and then we'll say I will help! Exclamation mark. Okay, narrate, and we'll say suddenly a beam of light goes over the penguin. And then narrate the penguin, and I hope that you can see, so every time that you're doing like a new line or a new line of dialogue, you can just do this narrate function or the speak function if you want them to speak, and that's basically how you can just have your game kind of do whatever. So okay, the penguin begins to levitate. Okay, I'm gonna write a little bit more of this out here real quick, and then we'll go from there. Okay, let's end it off here. We'll say narrate, you begin to yell at the aliens. Narrate, suddenly a beam of light comes your way, and then narrate game. I won't go anything further than this for the sake of the video. So I'll come in here and we'll say, let's go ahead and run it. And you might notice there's that. Okay. Let's come in here and we'll say call for help. And there we go. Congratulations, it's the end. You can run it again, and you might notice, so, okay, let's type in 1 to hide. Okay, you hide from the aliens. What do you want to do? Get out or keep hiding? Let's keep hiding. You keep hiding, hide from the aliens, UFO gets louder. It just keeps going. So every time you keep hiding, there's nothing that's going to happen, because we're in that while loop, right? So let's get out, you break out from hiding, suddenly you game over. Okay. Cool. I hope that this, you don't have to do the story that we did, but this is a good practice on using if statements and while loops and such. There's going to be one more thing that I want to kind of do this. You might notice that this code and then also this code are really similar. So what you can do is you can actually make blocks of code with functions. And I'll introduce, so let's come in here, we'll create a function like end game that comes in and says that. So we'll say, go right here, right up at the top. Let's put it, go at the very, very top. And we'll go to line 3 and then, hit enter twice. And we'll say DEF game over. Parentheses after it and curly brackets. I'm sorry, not curly brackets, colon. Okay. So what we'll do, I'm thinking of another language. What we'll do is we'll just come in here and take this code right here and do that. I will go ahead and copy this. So suddenly a beam of light, whatever. Paste that in here. And then what you can do is you can come in here and just say game over and call it. And game over and call it. This is really useful if you have parts of your story that repeat over and over again, or if you have messages that repeat, or you could even make chapters or different things that happen. And this is where it gets really interesting. So anyway, congratulations. Thank you so much. You can modify this as much as you'd like. Definitely kind of build your own story. Test this out a little bit. You can do this all with if statements and elifs and whichever. Get some practice with that. Try a function. Give it a shot and do that. There's going to be another project that we're going to do in our next session, which will use the engine that we made, the functions. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. And again, all the code is in the description below.